Part 74. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 731. Chapter 731 Nightmare 3. Tanyuj smiled and stopped asking questions. As long as he could always be by her side, he could do anything. The two were driving on the road. Tanyuj looked at the roads around him. Why was there no one around? Is it still early? Not long after Tanyuj stared at him, the little woman next to him stretched out her hand and put it on his knee, so he calmed down. Chien, what are you doing? Chien Yuman's eyes were a little naughty and a little funny. Honey, are we going to do something more exciting to spice things up? Just in the car. Tanyuj took a breath of air. It was so exciting. Doing bad things in the car? When did his wife become so bold? Why didn't he know about it? In the end, Tanyuj didn't know why, but he restrained his inner desire and refused the good feeling of being in the car. He couldn't figure it out, so he just did it anyway. Tanyuj's car slowly drove up the bridge, and when he came to the bridge where Chien Yuman jumped into the river, his face immediately became ugly, and he looked around in disbelief. He felt a little scared whenever he came nearby. Wife, why do you come here? Come to see Mom and Dad. Chien Yuman smiled and asked Tanyuj to pull over. Her soft hands took her to the side, and she saw two middle-aged people, a man and a woman, on the edge of the bridge. A woman was squatting on the ground crying and burning something, while the man stood aside and looked sadly at the Huangpu River. Tanyuj frowned slightly when he saw the two people. He thought they looked familiar, especially the men. When Chien Yuman saw the two people, he ran over happily and stood aside and shouted kindly. Mom and Dad, you came to see me. Parents. Tanyuj's eyes widened in an instant. When he took a closer look, the man was indeed Chizhan. This was the first time he had seen the woman, but he had seen this person in photos countless times. This person was Chien Yuman's mother Chien. Fairy. Chien, when did your mother come back? Why didn't I know? Tanyuj felt that the blood in his body had solidified. He was obviously very happy just a moment ago, and he was so happy. You especially saw Chien Yuman running around Chien's mother and Chi's father, calling them affectionately, but they didn't react at all. Their expressions were exactly the same as when they came, as if they couldn't see them. Chien Yuman raised her head and teased with a chuckle. Why, I forgot again. You look so stupid, as if you have lost your memory. Tanyuj looked more and more wrong. When did Chien's mother come back? Then he stared at Chien's mother, who was burning something. He immediately noticed that Chien's mother was holding a stack of banknotes in her hand and kept throwing them into the brazier in front of her. The banknotes were actually all ghost coins. Why does Chien Mama burn ghost coins at the bridge? Chien, what is your mother doing? He's burning paper money for us, Chien Yuman said with a smile, happily hiding next to him. Burn paper money? Tanyuj's breath stopped. Why are you burning paper money for us? This is so unlucky. The smile on Chien Yuman's face slowly faded, and she looked at Tanyuj doubtfully. You are stupid. We need money in the underworld and we have to raise children. Raising children in the underworld is very valuable. Child. Just when Tanyuj thought about it, two little dolls appeared next to him, holding his thighs, one on the left and one on the right, shouting. Who are they? Why are we in the underworld? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 732. Chapter 732 Nightmare 4. Hubby, are you stupid? You forgot that I committed suicide by jumping into the river. Then you missed me and jumped into the river to find me. We are both dead. Don't you remember? Chien Yuman said with a smile. Tilted his head and stared at Tanyuj. Died. Are they dead? How come he doesn't remember that he died? Apparently he was still drinking a few days ago. By the way, why don't you remember the scene when Jenner came back? Didn't she commit suicide? Why did he appear in front of him properly, and there were two little dolls beside him? I am dead? Or am I dreaming? Dream. Tanyuj opened his eyes with sweat all over his body, sat up from the bed, and looked around in a daze. There is no bright room, no familiar figure, no scent. Some only have the dark atmosphere of loneliness, an environment so lonely that it makes his heart palpitate. This is the room between him and Jianyuman. Tanyuj covered his face with his hands, and the face he wiped was covered with tears. He stood up in a daze, unable to tell whether it was reality or a dream. I kept waking up from my dreams just now. First I had a scene of quarreling with Jianyuman, and then I dreamed that she came back to him, but I also died. Now that he woke up again, facing the empty environment, he couldn't tell whether he was still in a dream or not. Perhaps he is still dreaming, but Jenner has actually returned to him. A sad smile appeared on Tanyuj's face. His heart was throbbing constantly, and the pain in his heart told himself that he was not dreaming, but the loneliness and emptiness around him made him hope that all of this was in a dream. Tanyuj sat in a daze on the bed, still a little dazed. At this time, the door opened slowly, and Tanyuj suddenly raised his head and looked at the door. Could it be that Jenner is back? A bright smile appeared on his face. Before he could be happy for a second, he saw the face of the visitor clearly in the dim light, and the smile on his face froze instantly. It's not her, Jenner, no. The sense of loss instantly pulled him from heaven to hell, and the expression on his face showed an uncontrollable expression of childlike fear. As the curtains were opened, the room became bright and bright for an instant, and at the same time, Tanyuj was pulled from a trance-like dream within a dream to reality. Yuj, how many days have you been staying in your room? You need to go out for a walk more often. Murong 11 looked at Tanyuj, who was in a trance with a sad look on his face. At the same time, Ji Fan and Chang Junyi walked in from the outside. Holding a towel in hand, one person came over with a change of clothes. Tanyuj looked at the three people who suddenly arrived and frowned somewhat displeased. Coming. Two magnified men rushed over in an instant. Ji Fan covered Tanyuj's face with the towel in his hand, grabbed him with his left and right bows, and dragged him into the bathroom. What are you doing? Tanyuj struggled. The two of them did not listen to him and dragged Tanyuj into the toilet. From time to time, sounds like killing pigs came from the toilet, all coming from Tanyuj's throat. What are you doing? Why are you taking off my clothes? Bath. My underwear. You are lying. Do you just want to insult me? My body can only belong to Jenner. We are not interested in men. Give me a towel, I want to go out, I don't want to take a shower. In the bathroom, two grown men were holding Tanyuj in the shower. They really couldn't stand it anymore. In the past few days, everyone took him out frequently, thinking that it would help him relax and come out of the gloom as soon as possible. As a result, if you don't watch it for 3 days, mushrooms will grow in your home. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 733. Chapter 733. Jianyuman's death is revealed. 1. In the bathroom, two grown men were holding Tanyuj in the shower. They really couldn't stand it anymore. In the past few days, everyone took him out frequently, thinking that it would help him relax and come out of the haze as soon as possible. As a result, if you don't watch it for 3 days, mushrooms will grow in your home. They are afraid that if Tanyuj continues to stay at home, he will go crazy sooner or later. He is already a little depressed and can't stand it anymore. This period of companionship did not help him get over his sadness as quickly as possible. Instead, he became more and more haggard day by day. They were all worried that one day he would die of depression. So the three of them agreed to come to Tanyuj together and take him out to relax instead of looking at him in turns, which was just treating the symptoms but not the root cause. He has been thinking about living a good life these days, but a few days later he stays at home in depression and grows mushrooms, and a few days later he cries and gets drunk. Finally, Tanyuj, a grown man who has not been taken care of and bathed since he was 3 years old, was touched naked by two good brothers today. These days, drunk, and lack of exercise, the complexion is very poor, even the body is false, but they can't fight them at all. At the same time, tears of humiliation were shed on his face. He is no longer the same person as he used to be. In the next 2 hours, the four of them took a private plane and started to play around. They didn't dare to take Tanyuj to the cities that Jianyuman had visited before, so they traveled from the Middle East to South Africa and then to New York for more than half a month. Tanyuj's mood finally recovered a little after everyone forced him to play, exercise, and eat during this period. But it was still obvious that he was not happy at all. They have no choice but to wait for him to slowly recover. All they can do is to prevent him from continuing to fall. It cannot be restored mentally, at least let him return physically to the past condition. The reason why they went to New York was because something happened to their three mutual friends, Lan Tianlu. Xiaoling's mother was hit by a car, Xiaoling also had a miscarriage due to excessive grief, and the couple was divorcing. Xiaoling went to New York because her mother was preparing for surgery there. They went to a high-end club in the imperial capital yesterday and saw Lan Tianlu, who was also trapped in love, drinking inside. The three of them took Lan Tianlu, who was also in a depressed mood, on the plane and took Lan Tianlu directly to New York to find Xiaoling to get back together. Seeing his friend's sadness, Tanyuj felt it deeply because he had also just lost his child. But Lan Tianlu is different. His beloved is still alive and well, just because there is a misunderstanding between the husband and wife, so as a good friend, he vows to bring them together and prevent them from embarking on their own tragic path. In the next few days, Lan Tianlu's three bad friends played their tricks, teasing Lan Tianlu and allowing him and Xiaoling to get back together. The expression on Tanyuj's face was originally a bit smiley, but in the company of three friends, his mind gradually broadened, especially when he helped Lan Tianlu come up with the idea of getting back together. He was even more active. At this moment, the three of them were staying in a room in the hospital. There were many surveillance pictures in front of them, all of which were of Xiaoling's ward. I saw a cold man sitting on a hot air balloon, with a cold face and a delicate guitar in his hand. He was singing songs and twisting his body. His weird expression, stiff dance, and that the singing is many times better than the original one. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 734. Chapter 734, Jianyuman's death revealed too. I saw a cold man sitting on a hot air balloon, with a cold face and a delicate guitar in his hand. He was singing songs and twisting his body. His weird expression, stiff dance, and that the singing is many times better than the original one. The singing is so beautiful, but the scene is so funny, because the always cold male Lan Tianlu, under the bad idea of Tanyuj and three others, lost his face and sang and danced the most popular brainwashing song Little Apple a few years ago. The stiff dance is the favorite dance of the square mothers. In particular, Lan Tianlu's limbs are uncoordinated, and his dancing is as stiff as a shadow puppet show. Xiaoling collapsed with laughter, and all the friends beside Tanyuj also fell dumbfounded with laughter, unable to straighten their waists at all. There was no other way. They had known Lan Tianlu for so many years, and this was the first time they saw him like this. Even Tanyuj, who was in a depressed mood, had a heartfelt smile on his face, and he bent down as his two friends laughed. This was also the first time he laughed so heartily after losing Jianyuman. Looking at Lan Tianlu's efforts to get back together in the picture, he danced in a twisted way, read a disgusting love letter, made Xiaoling laugh, and made her cry. In the end, the couple reconciled. He was deeply envious and blessed. At the same time, I was very crazy and joined forces with Ji Fan and Chang Junyi to turn the process of Lan Tianlu's reconciliation into a video and send it to all my relatives and friends to witness the scene of the cool male Lan Tianlu's marriage proposal. Especially his little apple is so classic. New York Dorset Hotel. Chi Lili has been in New York for 2 months. She was in a hurry when she came out and didn't have much money with her. Wang Tianyu promised to go home after a while, so she was hesitant to go back recently. She lives in an apartment shared by 2 people, and she has a good relationship with her roommate. The roommate works in a hotel, and because he has something to do, he asks her to cover for a day. Chi Lili thought about her recent shortage of money. 1 day's service fee from the emigrant group was enough for half a month's meal expenses. In addition to her roommate's repeated pleas, she still came. When she arrived, she discovered that it was the Royal Hotel where Tanyuj belonged. She originally wanted to turn around and leave, but thinking of her roommate's request, she finally had to go in. Since she was at the Regal Hotel in New York, she didn't know that Tanyuj had come to New York. She was just lucky and thought that he would not happen to come to the hotel when she was on duty today, so she still took the job. The service level and consumption level of the Dehao Hotel are very high. Not everyone can cover the shift. Originally, the hotel manager refused Chi Lili to cover the shift. However, seeing her beauty, he was so shocked that he made an exception and allowed her to work part-time for 1 day. In fact, the drunkard's intention is not to drink. Chi Lili once worked in the service industry, so she is quite comfortable and has no problems. She also thought that today would pass quickly and smoothly, but the world is a big place and people who are destined can always get together. The things you fear will come to you even if you don't want them to come. When Chi Lili walked into a private room, put the menu on the table and was about to leave, she heard an excited voice shouting towards her. Senior Manman Xiaoling shouted excitedly, her voice a little unbelievable. Unexpectedly, Jianyuman, whom she had not seen for a long time, suddenly appeared in front of her. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 735. Chapter 735 Jianyuman's death is revealed 3. At this moment, Xiaoling was having dinner and celebrating with some of her friends. Suddenly she saw Chi Lili dressed as a waiter, mistook her for Jianyuman, and immediately screamed excitedly. Chi Lili's mouth was slightly open in surprise at this moment, her eyebrows were slightly furrowed, and she was staring at Xiaoling's face. She had never seen Xiaoling before, so she was a little confused when she heard Xiaoling's shout. Just as she was about to tell him that she had made a mistake, another surprised scream came from the side. Manman, I finally found you. Yunduo suddenly jumped up from his position and rushed towards Chi Lili. Chi Lili was stunned now. She knew this person. He was Murongye's bodyguard, the handsome and androgynous bodyguard Yunduo. She has a good relationship with Yunduo, because she once sprained her foot while exploring, and Yunduo has been taking care of her. In addition, she often followed Murongye, and Murongye liked to harass her, so she and Yunduo met many times. Suddenly seeing the clouds, Chi Lili's instinct was to turn around and run away, because all she could think about was how she had pretended to be Jianyuman and deceived everyone about her sister's death. She didn't even consider that she could actually tell them they had the wrong person. The more she ran away, the harder it became to explain. Chi Lili ran for a while and was caught by the agile Yunduo. The expression on Yunduo's face was joyful. Manman, are you really not dead? You are still alive. Do you know? Everyone is worried about your life and death. Chairman Tang has been worried about you during this time. He is looking for you everywhere and is almost suffering from depression. Well, you are alive, why don't you tell everyone that you are alive? Yunduo, I. Chi Lili was speechless. She didn't know how to explain for a moment that she was actually not Jianyuman's business. Yun Duo stared at the Jianyi man in front of her as she grew older and looked more and more uncomfortable. Although her face showed a panicked expression, she could feel that her temperament was cold, more like Chi Lili who was out to relax. But why did Chi Lili see herself running? This doubt swirled in her mind, but no matter what, she was still very happy to take Chi Lil to the room. No matter who she was, Chi Lili originally refused to go, but Yun Duo pulled her forcefully. She panicked for a moment and was pulled to the room by her. Because of Lan Tianlu, the three of them stayed in New York for a while, and took the opportunity to go to the Royal Hotel in New York in the evening to treat some friends to dinner and thank them for their company during this time. After a month of traveling, although he often wakes up in the middle of the night with tears streaming down his face, his life is gradually getting on track and is not as degenerate as it was some time ago. The three of them were enjoying their meal. At this time, a manager came in and bent towards Tang Yuj. "Mr. Tang, I came here to ask for permission. Today there is a distinguished guest in the hotel. She is the wife of your friend Mr. Lan. Xiao Ling is here." Tang Yuj looked at the other two friends. "You guys sit down for a while and I'll say hello." Tang Yuj said goodbye to his friend with a faint smile. He stood up and followed the manager to Xiao Ling's box. When he saw Xiao Ling in the box, Tang Yuj said hello with a smile. "Hey, sister-in-law Xiao Ling came to my Dihao house for dinner? No wonder I feel lucky when I go out today." "Old Tang, are you coming to New York too?" Xiao Ling greeted Tang Yuj warmly when he saw him arriving. Tang Yuj had given Lan Tianlu some advice before, but he didn't come forward, so Xiao Ling didn't know he was coming to New York. "Gone. Your Majesty is in a good mood. Go out and beat someone up, and you will instantly feel better. We'll continue to update tomorrow." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 736. Chapter 736, Qian Yuman's death revealed 4. Tang Yuj pulled up a chair and sat next to Xiao Ling and said with a smile. "Yes. I came to New York to deal with some personal matters. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived for dinner at Regal today, I heard the manager tell me that you were here, so I came over to say hello to you immediately." Xiao Ling and Tang Yuj chatted and laughed for a while. They learned that Xiao Ling had just participated in the competition and won the championship and came here to celebrate. When Tang Yuj heard about it, he immediately said that he would treat him to a meal today, which was cheered by everyone. Amid the cheers of everyone, Yun Duo, who had been out for a while, came back, dragging Chi Lil behind her as she ran away. Xiao Ling saw the returning senior sister at a glance and immediately shouted excitedly. "Senior, it's really you." Xiao Ling shouted happily. Chi Lili felt a little uneasy and was still thinking about how to solve the problem. When her eyes saw Tang Yuj next to Xiao Ling, her beautiful face turned as pale as snow. Yun Duo, who walked in with Chi Lili, also noticed Tang Yuj and showed a surprised expression. Tang Yuj leaned lazily on the chair and looked at the door casually. When he saw the pale Chi Lili at the door, he jumped up from his position instantly. Chi Lili's heart was in her throat. Why is her brother-in-law here? Why was he so unlucky? Wang Tianyu asked himself to avoid Tang Yuj, but today he met him in person when he was working as a waiter. Is the world so small? Chi Lili was completely panicked and didn't remember that she was not Jian Yuman at all. Tanyuj didn't even know that he was pretending to be Jianyuman. Even if he was seen, nothing would happen. He actually threw away Yun Duo's arm, turned around quickly and ran away. What he was thinking about now was to stay away from this place of right and wrong. Tanyuj was surprised for a few seconds, then his face showed an expression of surprise and he shouted loudly. "Wife!" Tanyuj called out to his wife, stretched out his long legs and chased after her. The moment Tanyuj saw Chi Lili, he didn't realize that this person was not Jianyuman. He hadn't seen anyone for a long time, and the person who often appeared in his dreams in the middle of the night suddenly appeared in front of him, which had already made him lose his most basic knowledge. Thinking carefully, he quickly chased after him. "Oh my God! Is that his wife? My wife is back. Very good." It was God who heard her cry and sent Jian'er to him. Tanyuj stretched out his slender legs and chased after her at an unprecedented speed. His body was trembling when he saw the familiar figure. Chi Lili also ran very fast. She quickly passed through the people passing by, and she ran out smoothly due to her strong skills. She was very athletic, so it was still difficult to catch up with her, but facing the excited Tanyuj, she ran very hard. Seeing that she was about to catch up, she suddenly stopped and looked at Tanyuj indifferently. "Why have you been chasing me?" Chi Lil finally regained some sense and remembered that she could pretend to be stupid. Chi Lili's tone was a bit cold, with a bit of chill in it, which made Tanyuj, who was catching up, close his open arms, and the excited smile on his face faded little by little. When he was chasing him just now, he realized something was wrong. His Jian'er couldn't run so fast. Even if she didn't want to see him, she wouldn't be able to outrun him. After hearing Chi Lili's words and the expression on her face, he clearly realized that he had recognized the wrong person. "Lili, why do you work at Dehao?" End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 737. Chapter 737 Jianyuman's death is revealed 5. At that moment, he really thought that Jianyuman had returned to him, but he forgot that his wife had a twin sister who looked exactly the same. Although he was in a low mood, Tanyuj had not lost the most basic thinking and judgment. Chi Lili ran away immediately after seeing him. It was so abnormal that he couldn't ignore it. Chi Lili's indifferent expression broke the ice for a moment. She frowned slightly and her heart beat rapidly. What to do? Continue to act stupid? Or just looking for a reason? Chi Lili has been hesitant to talk about her sister's affairs. Although she is in New York, she is trying her best to find her sister's whereabouts. Wang Tianyu didn't mention anything about it, which made her feel heavy. She doesn't know what her sister's current situation is. Unable to make a judgment, she could only put off the matter one day at a time, but she didn't know that she would end up meeting Tanyuj. "Lili," Tanyuj called Chi Lili again. She actually fell into a daze in front of him, and although her eyes were pretending to be calm, he still caught the panic and uncertainty in her eyes. He immediately discerned that Chi Lili was hiding something from him, and that the matter was still related to him, which made her a little panicked at the moment. "Are you hiding something?" Tanyuj continued to ask. Chi Lili looked at him in surprise, feeling completely panicked in her heart. Tanyuj stared at Chi Lili, his head that had been on strike for 3 months finally started to work normally. Since the quarrel with Jianyuman, he has always been restless and lost some basic thinking abilities. Maybe it was because he cared so much that he didn't recognize the difference between Chi Lili and Jianyuman before. He was only irritated and distressed. While avoiding his liking for Jianyuman, he couldn't help but care about her. He was a genius with a doctorate in psychology, and turned into an idiot in love. At this moment, Jianyuman has been missing for 3 months, and with the help of his brothers and friends, he has slowly come out of the haze, and his smart brain has begun to work. Judging from Chi Lili's smiling expression, she had something wrong. 3 months after your sister's accident, why didn't you show up? Do you know anything? Chi Lili was shocked, and her eyes became even more erratic. Tanyuj accurately discovered that Chi Lili was hiding something from her. Don't be silent, I'm asking you something. Chi Lili took a deep breath and finally decided not to tell the truth because she had something she didn't want people to know. If she told Tanyuj about her sister, her secret might be known to others, and she and humans there will also be hidden dangers to safety. Wang Tianyu may act excessively and hurt his sister. At least my sister is safe now. After Chi Lili's strong resistance not long ago, she called Qian Yuman to learn about the situation. I know that Qian Yuman is doing pretty well. The two babies are more than 6 months old. They are making trouble in Qian Yuman's belly every day, and the fetal movements are getting more and more severe. The due date is getting closer and closer, and since they are twins, the children may be born early in more than a month. Nothing, just a little shocked that you are in New York. Tanyuj narrowed his eyes dangerously. Why didn't you go back? The tragedy has already happened. It won't help if I go back. It will only make me more sad. Chi Lili found a reason at random. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 738. Chapter 738 Qian Yuman's death is revealed. 6. The tragedy has happened. It won't help if I go back, and it will make me sad, so I don't want to go back yet. Chi Lili found a random reason. Besides, why should I explain to you? I haven't settled the score with you yet. It wasn't what you did that caused the quarrel with my sister. Would my sister have a miscarriage? Would she be thinking about committing suicide because of this? I see you now and you are full of anger. Anger rose on Chi Lili's face. She got angry when she said she was angry, and actually stretched out her fist to fight Tanyuj. Tanyuj also didn't expect that Chi Lili suddenly became angry from panic, and he was even more sure that Chi Lili was hiding something from him. Tanyuj quickly dodged and was punched several times by Chi Lili, and then Chi Lili escaped again. After seeing Chi Lili running away, he had no intention of chasing her. Instead, he held his chin and thought. Her anger came too slowly. Seeing that she wanted to run away at first, she was forced to do nothing, and she actually brought up the matter of Qian Yuman and wanted to settle accounts with him. Chi Lili has a problem. Xiangzi, it looks like we have something good to watch. Two handsome guys stood together at the entrance of the Royal Hotel. Kenny put his arm on Dongfang Xiang's shoulder and said with a smile, a little gloating on his face. The sunny smile on Dongfang Xiang's face became a little weird, and he also laughed. Should we remind Tianyu? Kenny asked leisurely, but there was no expression on his face that he didn't want to remind him at all. Dongfang Xiang shrugged his shoulders and laughed. I don't think you should say it, otherwise this good show won't be fun. It's so exciting. Well, heroes see the same thing. Kenny also had a sly smile on his face. At this moment, Wang Tianyu had no idea that his two friends knew that something was going to happen, but they did not act as friends at all. He should kindly remind Wang Tianyu and Tanyuj that something was wrong. But he still had some expectations, and promised to play with Wang Tianyu more often in the future if nothing happened. After Chi Lili escaped, Tanyuj didn't chase her, but that didn't mean he didn't do anything. After he returned, he immediately asked Secretary Zhang to investigate what Chi Lili had been doing recently. There is one thing Wang Tianyu did not do cleanly enough, even though he hid Qian Yuman and wiped away all the things about her being alive. But he forgot the key figure Chi Lili. After all, it was Chi Lili who pretended to be Qian Yuman and acted in a scene. Although Chi Lili and Qian Yuman liked to swap identities when they were children and played each other adeptly, it does not mean that Chi Lili will not find anything wrong when facing Tanyuj with her own appearance. Just like Chi Lili now, Tanyuj discovered Chi Lili's problem, and it was impossible to completely hide it from Tanyuj. Tanyuj's men began to investigate things about Chi Lili. When things about Chi Lili's recent actions were put in front of Tanyuj, he finally realized that there was something wrong with Chi Lili, and there was something wrong with this. It's still about Wang Tianyue. At this moment, Tanyuj had things about Chi Lil in front of him, especially the information on Chi Lil's entry and exit in his hand, and his face became even darker. What shocked Tanyuj was the scene of Chi Lili walking into the hotel wearing hospital clothes. If it weren't for the cold expression on Chi Lili's face, he once suspected that the person wearing the hospital gown was Jianyuman, not Jianyuman. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 739. Chapter 739. He actually agreed to divorce one. The information in Tanyuj's hand, and the Chi family learned that Chi Lili had gone abroad long before Jianyuman's accident, but the information in his hand clearly showed that Chi Lili came after Jianyuman's accident. New York. The life she lived after that was even more dull, not at all like what she said she wanted to do when she came out to relax, and she was obviously in a hurry and didn't even bring enough money. What shocked Tanyuj even more was the scene of Chi Lili walking into the hotel wearing hospital clothes. If it weren't for the cold expression on Chi Lili's face, he once suspected that the person wearing the hospital gown was Jianyuman, not Chi Lili. In the photo, Chi Lili is wet all over. She is wearing a hospital gown and her hair is not even dry. With a cold face, she walked into the hotel, and there were pictures of Chi Lil coming out of the hotel the next day. Later, based on the car's driving route, they found out that Chi Lili was riding from the bank of the Huangpu River. Then they investigated based on the car Chi Lil was riding in and found that the owner of the car was actually Wang Tianyue. Tell Tanyuj all the information one by one if there is any discomfort. Chi Lili jumped into the Huangpu River instead of Jianyuman. The person who let her commit suicide on the bridge was not Jianyuman, who made her angry to death, but her twin sister, who was even related to Wang Tianyue. What are the three of them doing? Tanyuj's anger continued to rise. Looking at these materials, he began to wildly guess the purpose of what they were doing. Haunting possibilities appeared in his mind one by one. Country Peninsula Villa. Jianyuman was walking around in the garden with a belly that was bigger than 9 months old. At this moment, her belly felt like there were 2 basketballs in it. However, her skills were still very strong, and it didn't look like she was pregnant at all. Got twins. Jianyuman has been pregnant for more than 7 months, and her 2 babies are growing up very healthily. Her mentality gradually adjusted. She was originally eager to leave here, but the environment here is very good, and she fell in love with it. In addition, Wang Tianyue wouldn't let her leave here at all, so she couldn't escape except staying here. Her belly was getting bigger day by day, and her attempts to escape were all in vain, so she gave up after trying several times. She won't feel lonely either. She is accompanied by some servants. Wang Tianyue, Kenny, and Dongfang Xiang often come here. Dongfang Xiang doesn't come here much recently. As Jianyuman is about to give birth, there are more noises here. Even Wang Tianyue doesn't run out often. Kenny comes over but becomes more diligent. He stays here for half a month. At this moment, Jianyuman is hiding from people in the garden because it has been very noisy these days. This is all because of Kenny. After Kenny came over, he was actually followed by a suitor, and he couldn't get rid of him afterwards. Originally, it was none of her business that her suitor came with her, but after spending this time together, Kenny became very kind to her. But when Kenny's suitor saw it, it was shocking. He thought Jianyuman was a mistress who seduced Kenny, whom he liked. That's right, look, it's him. Kenny's suitor is not a woman, but a man. However, this man has a good relationship with Wang Tianyue, and he can't even drive him away. Tianyuman, don't run away, you bitch. A blonde, blue-eyed Western man pointed his orchid finger at Tianyuman, holding a small ruler in his right hand. I said, great beauty, could you please stop chasing me, a pregnant woman? The abuse begins. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 740. Chapter 740. He actually agreed to divorce too. I said, great beauty, can you please stop chasing me, a pregnant woman? Tianyuman's steps were as fast as flying. She walked very fast. It was impossible to tell that she was a pregnant woman who was about to give birth. Her belly was also shockingly big. Much bigger than the average pregnant woman. Her height is on the high side, but she doesn't look like a big round ball. Otherwise, if she were shorter, she would definitely shrink into a ball, and I'm afraid she wouldn't have such a vigorous pace. The blonde and blue-eyed Western man was wearing a pink suit and a polka-dot yellow tie at the collar. His hair was meticulously combed. His posture when chasing Tianyuman was also a bit girly. His orchid finger was pointed at Tianyuman. Tianyuman also expressed her helplessness. She did not expect that one day she would be regarded as a love rival by a man. This sissy's name is Johnny Gray, and he is Kenny's ardent fan and pursuer. Ever since Johnny found out 3 days ago that Kenny came here for a vacation and avoided some difficult people, he dragged him away. I packed my suitcase and came to Wang Tianyue to stay for a few days. Randomly, Tianyuman's life before giving birth took a wrong turn, and he was a disaster-like figure. As they get along with each other during this period, Tianyuman and Kenny's relationship becomes deeper and deeper, and they can sit together and chat all afternoon. Therefore, in Johnny's eyes, Tianyuman and Kenny have an affair. It is even believed that the child in Tianyuman's belly is Kenny's, and she was hidden in the Golden House to wait for delivery. Johnny began to frantically seek trouble for Tianyuman. His method of making trouble was not malicious framing and making things difficult like Chiyuking's, but purely verbal attacks. Because he was jealous of the relationship between Tianyuman and Kenny, better than him and Kenny, so everything he said was sour, which made people angry and funny. Tianyuman would rather Johnny wanted to fight with her, then she could vent her anger, or do whatever she wanted with the help of her pregnant woman. But he won't do anything, he just whispers in your ear. Let me go. Tianyuman's steps became faster and faster. She felt mentally tortured. She was about to give birth. Can she wait for the birth well? How could Johnny let it go like this? Orchid commanded. Why did I say you're a woman running away? I really don't understand how Kenny could fall in love with you, a woman. I really can't stand it. Tianyuman was filled with 10,000 grass and mud horses, and she was complaining crazily in her heart. Isn't it normal for Kenny to fall in love with a woman? Do you still have a crush on you, a sissy? She can't stand him anymore, and he still dislikes me. Johnny, go to Kenny Appa, don't come to me, I'm just an innocent pregnant woman, Tianyuman muttered, and saw Wang Tianyue dragging a birdcage in his hand from a distance and passed by. Tianyuman's eyes suddenly lit up and she shouted at the top of her lungs. God bless, help me. I'm going to be annoyed to death, get rid of this person quickly. In the past few months, since Tianyuman learned about Wang Tianyue and their previous affairs, she no longer treated Wang Tianyue as defensively as before. After getting along with each other during this period, their relationship has also eased a lot. Although I lost my freedom, I was well served with good food and drink, so I didn't neglect myself in any way. Coupled with the knowledge of Uncle Wang's tragedy, she was no longer as cruel to him as she had been in the past. In her eyes, he was also a pitiful person. His temperament changed drastically because of the loss of his father, which was caused by the eldest brother he had admired since childhood. End of this chapter.